So when I first got into FPV, I wanted to buy a pre-built drone because I felt like if I built my first drone, I'd probably destroy it. And that's exactly what happened. Now, what I chose to do is I started out with my Nazgul 5, my pre-built drone, but after a while of flying it, I wanted to have a Cinewhoop, so then I could fly indoors and near people. So I thought, why not take my Nazgul 5 and add ducts to it? Because then you have the power of a 5-inch drone, but it's ducted so it acts as a Cinewhoop. So I did exactly that. I went through and 3D printed some propeller ducts for my Nazgul 5. And the first flight I took off, and I realized it was way too heavy, it had stability issues, and the moment I bounced off of a wall, it totally broke. So I moved on, and I wanted to build a fully 3D printed Cinewhoop. I bought all the parts and started building it, and what I didn't realize is 3D printing material can flex. So the moment I took off, it had really bad vibration issues, and it wasn't as strong as I thought. Now I'm stuck with all these extra parts, and I'm deciding what to do. And I found another frame. It was the Shendrone Squirt, and luckily all my parts fit onto that. Now I got it all built and I started flying, and I got about 5 solid flights out of it, and it was flying amazing. I thought this was the one, because the moment I took off my 6th time, I heard something pop, and I realized I fried the flight controller. I went through and I swapped out the flight controller with my Nazgul 6S because it used the same flight controller that I was using on the Shendrone Squirt. And the funny thing is, it started flying great for another 3 flights, and then I came back in, plugged it into Betaflight. The moment I unplugged it from Betaflight, the USB connector popped off. And I'm trying to find out how to fix both of these flight controllers because I'm down 2 flight controllers in one day. And I found a video on how to solder the USB connector back together. So I went and soldered it, and I realized I suck at soldering and it didn't work. Now I went through and I bought even more flight controllers to try to fix the broken ones. And this new flight controller, I plugged it in and it worked, and I got about 10 flights out of it. And then after that, the Caddx Vista went out. And now, so this whole drone is just falling apart. And I'm wondering what I did wrong. And so I went over all my soldering and I double checked to make sure everything was correct. And I missed one major point. I forgot to add a capacitor to it. So I went back and I added a capacitor. I realized one of the ground pins from the ESC going to the flight controller was totally destroyed. So I replaced that, plugged everything in, and now it finally works. And luckily now I've been flying it for a while, and it's so far doing great. The only downside is a software issue that I'm dealing with. If I try to drop the throttle to 0, it'll just hover and it'll keep gaining altitude, or it will yaw right really hard, and it's hard to control it. But so far I think you can fix that in Betaflight. I'm still trying to test through it. If there's any tips that you know how to fix this, I'd greatly appreciate it. And now, even though blowing through 2 flight controllers was a pain, it helped me learn and understand how the drone works even more. Now, if you're building a drone, you want to make sure to double check your work and don't make all the mistakes like I did. I'm Zane Shaw, and keep flying.